What's going on, everybody? It's Matt. So I'm here at this apartment complex we just purchased. This is a 222 unit apartment complex in Kentucky. And today I want to talk to you guys about things that you have to do right when you buy a property. Now, these rules apply for small stuff, they apply for big stuff. This just so happens to be a large apartment complex. But what we did here right after we closed are the same things that you guys need to do. Even if you buy a duplex or perhaps even a single family home, these rules would apply. And of course it applies for larger complexes like this. So these are the three things you guys have to do immediately right when you buy a piece of rental property. And again, it applies for all types of real estate, big and small. So on this complex, the first thing that we're doing is we're walking all the units. That's an undertaking for 222 units, but for a duplex or a single family home or even something larger, that's something that you could accomplish fairly easily. And the reason why you want to walk it, meaning like you want to send somebody in there, whether it's yourself, your property manager, your contractor, your business partner, somebody from your team, your global team, needs to go in and walk the property inside and out. Now we've got like 10 people that are right now walking all these apartments. And the reason why we're doing that is we want to, first of all, make sure that the tenants are still in there, make sure that the tenants didn't go and do something called a skip, which is where they just move out in the middle of the night. Make sure they didn't do that, and also make sure that the units are in the condition that we thought they were in, and just assess the condition of the property at closing. Now, you maybe walk the property right before closing. It's important to walk it again right after closing. Maybe you didn't walk it for a couple of months. Maybe you only walked it right when you put it under contract. Whatever it is, you guys need to walk the property immediately after you take ownership, because you got to make sure that what you think is here is here. Did the prior owner take out the appliances and the vacant units unbeknownst to you? Did the prior owner, did a bunch of tenants move out in the middle of the night? You think you're still living there, so you think your occupancy is higher than it is. That's why you want to walk the units. You want to just assess the tenant condition, assess the property condition, and just get your head around what it is you just bought, okay? And even if you walked it right before closing or day of closing, it's important to go and do a full checklisted site walk. So these guys are out walking units, looking for things like plumbing leaks, looking for things like tenant cleanliness, just obviously making sure tenants are still living in their units. And we think that a few tenants might have moved out in the middle of the night. And so we want to check that and account for it. So that's what the site walk's all about. It's a full checklisted list of items that you go and collect and data that you pull down, and then you compare that to your business plan that you have for the property, for the renovations you're going to do, for rent increases you're going to do, for modifications you're going to make, whatever that looks like. You're going to use the data that you guys pull during your site walk to implement your business plan so you can get moving and make the property sing like you need it to, right? That's number one. Number two is some sellers will do this for you, but you want to make sure that they did, and that's transferring utilities into your name. Now, a lot of times in areas where we do business, like in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, the title company, when they transfer property from one owner to another, will transfer things that are lienable, like water and sewer and stuff like that. They'll transfer that for you, but you want to make sure they did it. So it's important to call to make sure that the utilities have been moved over to you. Because we've bought property years and years ago when we first got started where we didn't do that, and the prior owner had just called up and said, hey, shut it off. They were supposed to say take it out of my name, but they actually called and told them to turn it off. And so we had the electricity get shut off at a property because we were told by the prior owner that they were going to transfer it, but they mistakenly used the wrong words and had them turn the electricity off. So we had to go and turn it right back on. But the tenants lost power for a day because of something that could have been avoided, right? So you want to call the utility company to confirm that the utilities are in your name. That's water, sewer, gas, electric. Could be something funky like propane or something like that if you live in an area, or propane or oil, delivery service. Make sure that those things are all in your name. Even things like if you got a larger complex like this, we have washer dryers here. We don't own them. They're a third-party company that owns and services them, which I highly recommend you guys do that instead of owning them yourself, so you don't have that liability and you don't have to deal with the maintenance of those machines. Just have a third-party company do it and pay you something called a revenue share, meaning they pay you a percentage of what they collect. But that's besides the point. You want to make sure that contract's in your name to make sure that they don't go sending their proceeds from the laundry room to the prior owner, because they will. You know, that's where they've been sending it. Why wouldn't they do that? So then the prior owner might not have notified them of the sale. So you want to call those companies and notify them, and also call the power companies and notify, and just make sure that everything's in your name, and it's going to be paid, and that it's not going to get shut off anytime soon. So utility transfer, and making sure that was done properly the day of closing is something that you really have to do, just to make sure that your tenant's going to have uninterrupted service, and that you're going to be properly charged for the utilities that you're responsible to be charged for, and it doesn't get shut off or improperly billed back to the prior owner, and then you got to pay them, you got to reimburse them, or they have to pay you, or whatever. You got to go change the money over after closing and stuff like that, because utilities didn't get transferred properly, or because it's still in their name after closing and now you owe money. Wacky stuff. You don't want to do that. So the third thing that you need to do day of closing for a property or day after closing is make sure the tenants know that you own the place, that you're now the new owner. And that can be done on smaller properties. You probably should just call the tenant or have your property manager get on the phone and call them. For a large complex like this, what we did is we posted notice on their doors, and the prior owner did put notice on their doors saying, hey, we no longer own the complex. This is your new point of contact. But we went beyond that and put another letter from us on the door that went beyond it. We put it up the day of closing, or the day after closing, to make sure the tenants knew that here's where you pay your rent. You don't pay it to the other co-owner anymore, you pay it to us. And you, if you have a maintenance issue, you call the property manager. This is what you do if you need anything, whatever it is. The letter from the prior owner is likely not going to get into all that information. It's just going to say, hey, we don't own we don't own that complex anymore. It's just going to say, you know, it's just going to say, we don't own it anymore. You know, this is your new owner. But it might not be as detailed as you'd like for it to be. So you want to notify a tenant with a letter from you with tons of detail on what tenants should do if they have an issue, or most importantly, well, not most importantly, but important too, on who they pay the rent to and things like that. Because you don't want them going to take their rent to the prior owner's office, and you got to chase down the prior owner to get the rent back from them. So those three things, guys. Here's a quick review. Walk the units immediately. Even if you walk them right before closing, walk them again, and bring a checklist with you and collect as much data as you can the day immediately after you close. Number one. Number two, transfer utilities. Any type of service contracts on utilities or on things like washer dryers and stuff like that. Transfer all that into your name immediately after closing. And you know, propane delivery services, natural gas, oil contracts, whatever it is, make sure all that gets transferred into your name. And number three, make immediate contact with your tenants with how you want them to come to you if they have maintenance requests, or, you know, looking to pay their rent. You do those three things up front within, like, say, the first 24 to 48 hours of you taking ownership of a property, whether it's a weekend or whatnot. Then you will establish yourself early with your tenant base and get your head around your asset very quickly, so you can implement your business plan and make the property do what you need it to do and meet your goals. Okay, that's what I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great and profitable week.